Everybody, good morning. Welcome. It's Monday. What day is today? Monday, May 11th. And we are continuing the COVID-19 stay-at-home art live streams. Art live streams. Boy, I really blew that line. Okay, so today, just want to make sure I say this up front at the top of the show. One, we'll be drawing a chibi Spider-Man, like a kind of the cute, big-headed, cartoony sort of like a Tokidoki sort of Spider-Man, something kind of along those lines. Just I thought it'd be kind of really different, but hopefully really fun. And please do feel free to draw along with me. Use whatever tools you have. Use whatever paper you have that's appropriate for drawing on. Sketchbook, notepad, whatever you got. Doesn't have to be a red Post-it. If you don't have a red Post-it, that's okay. Use whatever pencils, pens, crayons, colored pencils. Use whatever you got. Secondly, I'm going to, right after this live stream, like this live stream's happening now, like in 1 hour from like right now, I will be on my friend Will Robson's live stream YouTube channel here today. I'm going to do an art live stream with him. We're going to like split screen. We're both going to be drawing together. So you are welcome to come and join us. And that link is in the video description below. So come join us at Will Robson's YouTube channel and he's an artist for Marvel as well. That's going to start at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern time. And so let's flip the camera around and let's get to drawing. There we go, plug back into the rig. Got my trusty rusty Unikura Toga mechanical pencil. I'm gonna click in some lead here. Yeah, there it is, it's not empty. So, now, what's fun about this is we're gonna be able to get a full figure Spidey on here, but it's gonna be one of those big head, cartoony Spidey. So I'm going to start with it's going to be kind of a different shape than I would if I was drawing Spidey normally. And the proportions are going to be way off. They're going to be very cartoony proportions. So we have his head here. There's the center of his head and his eye line. Still want to break that down. Going to give him really big eyes. It's going to have a really big upper part of his head, then it comes down to a smaller face. The whole back of his head just kind of curves right down around to a little tiny chin. So having the eyes bigger, a little wider set, and a little lower here on the face, like that would be like kind of the top of his forehead there, can up the cute quotient here. Then he has a little body. It's kind of like this little jelly bean shape connected to his head. Going to have him kind of crouching here a little bit. Going to bring one arm forward and down. Like say he's crouched on top of a building there. Going to have some cute little stubby fingers. So here's the center of his body right there. It kind of runs down the center of his body. Like that's the bottom of his belt right there. Kind of give him a little bit of a tummy, so it'd be kind of circular like that, a little cute little tummy. And so his thigh is coming forward here to his knee, and then down, so that's his little boot. Then we're going to bring the other leg back. So that's his thigh right there. So that'd be kind of like his knee. And then his lower leg and his foot, and it's just tucked behind that ledge. And then the other arm, so we know that's his top of his tummy. That would be the bottom of his little tiny pectoral muscles. Can start to kind of overlap the body shape here with his shoulder so that it connects nicely. start to rough in these cute little arms, little chubby fingers. Only going to give him 4 fingers. It's more cartoony. He's got his gloves. Then we have that center part. Let's see, we have the whole belt part of his costume, and then that center part that runs down to the stripes that go down his sleeves, which would be on the other side of his arm. Then we'll have a little spider there on his chest, just indicate that for now. Then maybe we'll throw in some backgrounds, just some real simple buildings here behind him, just indicate him like that. So now let's move. Oh, and then of course there'll be the spider webs. This is almost bordering on looking a little bit like a Funko Pop by the size of the head. Of course, Funko Pops do have a very chibi look about them as well because of the exaggerated proportions. So then I have just some guidelines here for when I do the webs. They're so these body parts here are so small that getting these details in can be a bit of a challenge, but that can be the fun of it. So now we're going to come in with some microns, the 0.8, 0.1, and 0.005. Right now I'm going to start with the 0.1, because right now I want to start with his fingers here, just starting off. Because his fingers overlap the ledge just a little bit. And then now I can take my thicker micron, the 0.8, and now I can use my drafting tool, my triangle here. And I can draw in the ledge he's standing on, crouched on. Just do some series of lines here to create the trim. That's often at the top of New York buildings. Do some thicker lines towards the bottom there because it's more of a shadow or less light is getting to it. Now I'm going to use the same 0.8 micron and we're going to start to work on the main contours. Maybe flare his cheek out just a smidge. Give him some chubby cheeks. And pull down here to the chin. Just do the whole perimeter of his head here. Just going to beef up this line for a little more depth, make him really pop in the foreground. That takes care of the main contour of his head. Let's work on the lenses here. Now the black here of his lenses we're going to fill in later. In fact, let's put a little open area here for some color later on. We'll put some gray right inside there. Do the other lens. Nice big Todd McFarlane sized Spidey lenses. Then we'll fill that all in black as well later on. Right now we're just doing the line work. Now we get this one arm here that's going to overlap that leg. Have the under part of his thigh right there. And then the knee and the shin down to the foot. We'll even spot the black in the blue parts of his costume. Get this other side, of his body down to his leg here. So that shadow from the knee going down the shin kind of creates some depth there. Get this one hand flared out here. Have his little fingers kind of spread out. Maybe beef up these lines a little bit more. A little thumb. And the underside of his palm. Sorry guys, forgot to adjust the light over there. I apologize for that. Let's see, now we have that little center red part of his costume. Let's see, get that glove. Then that center red part comes up over his shoulder and then a stripe down the sleeve. And the black parts of the shadow of his costume. Even with a chibi type of Spidey here, I can spot the blacks in his blue part of his costume. I still consider the life drawing aspect of this. The rules of life drawing that I've learned and have developed in my style, I can still utilize even though these chibi shapes are very different from when I draw a regular Spider-Man, like significantly different. But it's still the same mentality because there's still shapes representing arms, tummies, legs, etc. So these are things I'm going to want to think about. In fact, we're going to fill a lot in that black because there's a lot of shadow there from his arm reaching over. Then on the inside of his thigh here, still the same mentality. The inside of the thigh here would be further away from the light, so there'd be more of a shadow. Okay, and then let's see, I'm still gonna fill those in black later. Let's work on the web part of his uniform here, his costume. I've heard it both ways. So we're gonna do that little center right in between that little, almost little octagonal shape, in between his eyes. Then I like to start with that center web line. I always like to start with the center and radiate out from there to try to keep them as equidistant and consistent of a pattern as possible. And then for the bottom part of his mask, it splits into two, right down to the chin. And then we do the oscillating fan wire, the cross webs as I like to call them, for lack of a better term. They have a slight inward curve to them, curving towards the center. Oops, let's see. Need to add a couple more of those lines there. Again, curving towards the center for a nice radial sort of pattern. And then let's add the webs to his costume here. That center web line runs right down the center of his body. So I'm even still thinking of my regular Spider-Man proportions. My approach to drawing Spider-Man traditionally comes into play in drawing him as a chibi. So the lines connect to make that full belt, and then there's like one row of cross webs through the belt. And they kind of still curve around his body. Keeping in mind the more roundedness of his shape. And around the chubby little fingers, little Vienna sausages. And then here on his boots. Oh, and then we still have the spider. I forgot the spider. Right there in the center. Trying to make it a chubby little spider. Cool. Just gonna clip my microns back while this takes a moment to dry. Hope everyone's having fun. Hope you're enjoying seeing me draw something pretty different here. Not my usual superhero fare. I'm going to take my kneaded art gum eraser, K-N-E-A-D-E-D, kneaded, like you knead bread, like when you smush it. That's called kneading. This is what I'm doing here is kneading this. And now I can go in here and erase all these lines. Actually, I'm going to erase those building lines. I'm just going to do the buildings in color with some grays, just so that Spidey really pops in the foreground. You can draw in your buildings with lines if you want, but the city is not the star of this shot, but it is an important part of this illustration. So let's see, I'm going to take my Pentel pocket brush pen. And this time I'm just going to go ahead and fill in these blacks of his mask, of the black trim of his lenses. Really makes those eyes pop. It's always fun to fill in the blacks. See how solid everything becomes. Okay. All right, so let's start adding some color here on Spidey. Oops, I see another little spot here. I want to erase some pencil lines. There we go. Let's start adding some color. I'm going to use Copic sketch markers, and I'll call out those codes. You use whatever coloring supplies you have. It's totally cool. So I'm going to start with some neutral gray. No, not neutral gray. I'm going to start with some cool gray, a light cool gray for the trim of this building. Some cool gray 2. Just going to do this first. And then for the actual color of the bricks, I'm going to use kind of this grayish green, a BG93, I think might be a nice muted color. For the bottom part of the building. That's about all we need to do for that. Next up is some reds. We're going to start dropping in some reds here on Spidey. I got the R27. kind of my base Spidey color. Kind of got red going on red here, and that's totally okay. It's kind of the fun of it, to see how the red of the paper kind of is visible underneath the color and how that kind of changes things. Kind of leaving some parts of the outer perimeter of Spidey open for some lighter shades of red, maybe a little bit of orange. So next I'm going to come with a lighter shade of red, R24. I'm assuming the light's coming from above, whether it be the sun or the moon or light of the buildings. I don't even know if this is a day or nighttime little scene yet. Probably daytime. Though the red will really infect the sky, so it'll seem more like almost like a world-ending sort of sky because it's all red. And then so a little bit of orange here, some YR04 to give it kind of a vibrant sort of highlight, which really plays well with this red paper. All right, now let's bring in some blues. I'm going to start with some B04. Now this blues on this red really are infected by the red paper, so I'm not going to use much of that B04. It's a bit dark. I'm going to save more room for try the B02. It's a little bit lighter of a blue. And I'm going to go even lighter with the B01 for this whole, the kind of this under lighting or reflected light. But really kind of translate almost more as a gray because of the paper. And that's okay. So I'm going to do, let's see, I need to put some neutral gray here in his mask. Some neutral 4 right there, still leaving a little bit of the center of that section there as kind of like a highlight. Just like that. And then I'm going to do the lens trick. If you haven't seen my videos before, what I do a special trick here where I go darker with some gray tones than I would if I was coloring on white paper. So if you're coloring on white paper, use a cooler shade of gray, or lighter shade of gray. I'm going to start with a cool gray 5. If I was working on white paper, I'd use a cool gray 3. I'd use half whatever the darkness is if I was using white paper, but I have to account for the black paper. So I'm going to run a horizon there through his eyes. Now I'm going to come in with a cool gray 3. If this was white paper, I'd use a cool gray 1 for the bottom part of his lens. And because this is red paper, I don't think I'm going to bother with any blue. That's not really necessary. Now I'm going to use a white colored pencil here. I'm using the Derwent Inktense brand, but any brand will do. I just grabbed Derwent Inktense because that's what I saw at the art supply store. Now I color in the entire lens, even over that gray, and now the white over that gray marker lightens it up to just that right shade of light gray I would have used if I was coloring on colored paper. Maybe a little, layer in a little bit more white here on the top part of his lens. Now do the other lens. And there we go. So now let's work in some buildings in the background here. I'm going to start with like a neutral gray 3, I think, we're just going to create the illusion of a cityscape behind him. Oh, another pencil line I need to get rid of. Don't even know what that line was for. So I kind of have the angle of the buildings going this way. So I'm going to start at the top of a building right here. Just kind of pull down. Maybe another building right there. And some buildings here in the distance. Using the chisel tip here. I'm going to create these boxy shapes here for a very distant looking background. That's just step one. Step two is to go a little bit darker with a cool gray 4. Going to kind of shade in one side of a building there. Maybe way back here, there's a little more building. You fade up on that side. Maybe a little bit of a shadow here on this side of this one building over here. Maybe start to shade in some trim. Kind of create some windows here. This is just it's almost like a blurred out background is what I'm going for here. So it's like in the distance and you can't really make out the details. Come in with a little bit darker of a gray. Some neutral gray 5. Add just a few more shadows. Some details here, maybe cut this direction here. Like a little water tower, air conditioning units on top of this one building. Maybe a little antenna on top of this building here. So it just kind of creates a little neighborhood for our friendly neighborhood Spidey. So just a few little details like that. Just gives us a sense of New York behind him without having to get super detailed with it. Let's see. I think I'm gonna, I see some more pencil lines there. Did not do a very good job erasing the pencil lines. So I'm gonna take a little bit of purple here. Gonna take some BV11, I think. Just gonna kind of create these wispy sort of lines. They're all kind of going in the same direction. Just going to create kind of like a wispy, cloudy sky behind him, but using some shades of purple. Now some V01, a very light shade, just to kind of fade it down. Just a little texture to this apocalypse sort of sky. Now I'm going to come in here and with my Uniball Signo white gel pen, I'm going to put my outline around Spidey. To give him some pop off the page. Got a couple other tricks here I'm planning to do as soon as I get the outline done. all the way around Spidey's body to the building. And because that building's so far in the foreground, we're going to put in a, we're going to make the building give the building a highlight as well, or the outline, I should say. All right, maybe actually I'm going to continue this line a little bit into Spidey, just for underneath his chin, so his head pops a little bit. Maybe a little bit into his arm for the overlap. Okay, so because we got this apocalypse red here, I'm going to give him some spider sense. Spider sense would definitely be tingling. Red sky at night, spider sense takes flight. So I'm going to draw some kind of lightning bolt shape. Just bring it right to the outline. Spider sense just popping right off, just above the head. So we're just going to repeat this pattern, just different sized, shaped lightning bolts. You can do squiggles. You can make your spider sense whatever shape you want. One more on this side, a little smaller one, as it moves towards his shoulder. Then for this other side, going to turn this if you don't mind, just so I don't run the risk of smudging the ink by putting my hand in it. Then they get smaller the further we get to his, the closer we get to his shoulder. All right, so I have one more little trick here I want to do. And let's give him a web line. Maybe he just swung in. In fact, sometimes it's good just to take a pencil and lightly kind of pencil in where you want the web line to come in. So he was swinging in this way, so the web line would be anchored from behind him. Going to come down and around, and then imagine the line coming all the way through here, and we're going to use some of this space over here, and it's going to just kind of curly cue right over to there. Thinking of the design of it all. And so now we can draw on this web line. Give it some of that tangled spaghetti strap webs. Just let them kind of twist and turn all the way around. We'll just let this line actually connect to Spidey because it's an actual object. There's his web line that he just swung in on. Oh, and one more little detail here. Put some little highlights right there on the lens. Some really bright white highlights. Maybe 3 little dots. Or a bigger dot and then 2 little dots like that. And that takes care of the white highlights on Spidey. Now I'm just going to grab my 01 micron. I'm just going to run my signature right through here through the building ledge he's on. So make sure I have enough room for my name and the date. And today is May 11th. 11 May 2020. Boom! CHIBI Spider-Man. We have a full scene going on here. We got a little Spidey. We're telling a little story here. We got Spidey. He's crouched on top of the building. Spider sense is going off. What's going on? He just got here. Here's his web line he just swung in on. What's going on in New York City, because we have a whole environment built around him. So there we go. That's a lot of fun. If you'd like me to see me do more CHIBI characters, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. Maybe I'll do a different Marvel or maybe DC character or some completely other characters in a CHIBI style, if this is the kind of stuff that you like seeing. Let me flip the camera around and we can wrap up today's live stream. Oh, I actually locked the phone there. That was a complete accident. So, would be nice, more CHIBIs. Okay, maybe I'll do another CHIBI sometime in the future. We can do all sorts of characters. It's fun to kind of think in that way. It's thinking in all new sorts of shapes, all new ways to approach that character, and how do you pump up the cuteness? Pumping up the cuteness is a key thing I think about in working with CHIBI here. So here's little CHIBI Spidey. I will have a shot of this on my social media. So if you're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, I got links to all those in the video description below. So you can go there, click on the link, it'll take you directly to my account, and you can give me a follow so you don't miss out on all the content that I post on my social media pages. And I'll also try to get a direct link to this shot of Spidey on my Instagram here a little bit later on. If you're watching this on replay, then the link is probably down there now. But it will definitely be on my my Instagram, Twitter, and Art of Todd Nauck Facebook page here a little bit later. Not right away, because I have to go over to my friend Will Robson's YouTube channel in about, in about 20 minutes, I'll be there. And if you're watching this on replay, I'll try to have a link to that live stream I did where I made a guest appearance on Will Robson's channel. Will Robson, he's an artist for Marvel. He and I have both worked on the Spider-Man Deadpool series. We didn't work on the same issues, but we worked on back-to-back story arcs. We've worked on he did a cover to a Guardians of the Galaxy short story I did. So that's a comic book we worked on together. And anyhow, he's a great guy, and he's a friend of mine from the UK, so I look forward to spending some time with him. So come over to his channel here today if you're watching this on May 11th, and come join us live. If you're watching on replay, go see what we did. I should have the link in the video description below if you're watching this on replay after May 11th, 2020. And one more bit of news here, gang. I appreciate everyone hanging out with me and drawing here on my live streams. This is the 9th week of this COVID-19 stay-at-home art live stream series I've been working on. This week I have some other stuff going on, so I will not be able to do art live streams here for Tuesday, May 12th or Wednesday, May 13th. But I will be back Thursday, May 14th for a new art live stream. So I have to take 2 days off, but I will be back on Thursday is the plan. So make sure you're subscribed to my channel. Make sure your notifications are set to alert you, to notify you when I schedule a new art live stream or upload new art videos, so you don't miss out, especially when I have to take a break like this. Yeah, I'll miss seeing y'all here on Tuesday and Wednesday, but we're gonna get back together. On Thursday is the plan. 9 a.m. is the plan. So yeah, so sorry I can't be with you here every day this week. But until then, yeah, see you over at Will Robson's channel here in about 20 minutes. 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. I think that Rob said that, or Will said that's 6 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, something like that. But hey, just come join us at 20 minutes. The link to Will's channel is in this video description. Oh, it might not be in the video description. I'll need to add it, but just just search for Will Robson, R-O-B-S-O-N, or R-O-B-S-O-N-I-N-K. Robson Inc. is the name of his channel. So yeah, hopefully I'll get to see you there. So till then, I'm Todd Nauck. Keep on drawing, keep having fun. Take care, everybody. Stay well.